final leg. At least I think it's the final leg. I mean, we've been here for I don't know how long, but ooh, let's go. Defendant Miss Lana Sky, please take the stand. Hold on. It's lagging. It's lagging. Let me restart it real quick. It did this before when I was first starting. I don't understand why it there was that input lag to sound. That makes no sense. Do you mind if some of us have our own trial in chat? I saw part of it, and if you want to try and take Renji to court, thinking that they are the one that killed it, is the murderer, then you got to find your prosecutor, your defendant, whoever's going to defend Renji. Please let me know, and then just go ahead and take that out in court. I agree. Go for it. You got to have evidence and testimony. Testimony can be words that were used. So absolutely. I restarted because the sound was off between what was happening. Miss Lana Sky, you are the chief prosecutor. I'm sure you're aware of what is required of you. But Mr. Edgeworth, you already know everything. You know all I've done in the past 2 years. Now please provide the court with your testimony, Miss Sky. This game isn't online. I don't have any drop frames that I'm showing I'm going. You're confusing me. You're under oath. Of course. The truth. Lana, no matter what happens, I'll always be your sister. That's actually pretty encouraging. I like it. I like it. Testimony, if you will. I'm old. Tell us about the relationship with Chief Gant. What is this? There, do that. Much better. Everything hinges on your testimony. You're the only chance we've got to get Gant. Get Gant. That's what I'm hoping for, Agent. Eventually, I hope if they continue to make any Phoenix Wright ones, I'd love there to be voice acting. Like, oh, be so good. But then you wouldn't get my voices. And then you'd be happier. I worked alongside Gant for years. There's no truth to this blackmail theory. I fabricated the evidence 2 years ago all by myself. When I found Prosecutor Marshall's body, I rearranged the crime scene. My only motivation was to get Doc convicted. It had nothing to do with Emma. Are you sure about this testimony? Your Honor, I'm confessing to a capital offense. Of course I'm sure. But Lana! This is true. Then that means Chief Gant has nothing to do with this. That's what I've been telling you from the beginning. Please, Mr. Wright, you gotta help her. She's sacrificing herself because of me. What if she's telling the truth? She's not. I know my own sister. She never speaks stiffly like that. She's hiding something. Deep down, she's screaming in agony. Yeah, this is no time to start second-guessing myself. Cross-examine. And before she dies like Mia, oh gosh. We don't need her to die. Oh. Oh, she's got accolades now. Hold on. This was a random thing. Yeah, in this one, she doesn't have any accolades on. Little badges. But she does in here now, so perfect. Yeah, the trials being fully voiced in Danganronpa Renji were so good. So good. I'm so glad they did that. Because I could not do a good Monokuma. How many years exactly? Ever since I made Senior Detective. Let's see, I was 24 then, so it'd be 5 years. Detective Gant and Detective Sky were legendary partners. I personally saw them. I can't do that. Master Roshi. I personally saw them testify in numerous cases. Do you really want that to be the voice? She must have been good coming from the same school as Mia. Damon Gant was a respectable detective. That's why... It's hilarious. Oh, gosh. But think about it, Miss Sky. You didn't murder Detective Goodman. You told me as much yesterday in jail. You still don't get it, do you, Mr. Wright? Any testimony you cannot present in court is as useless as idle gossip. I stabbed Detective Goodman with a knife. And... Did you do it so you could help your sister? Joe Dock was a serial killer. My sister almost became his last victim that day. I don't want that incident to ruin her life. But what she did was justifiable self-defense. She wouldn't have been charged with anything. It's not the point. She was traumatized that day, all because of that creep. That's why I couldn't forgive him. So what's this fabricated the evidence 2 years ago? You say you did this all by yourself? Yes. Would you mind telling us what you found when you arrived at the crime scene? It seems I was the first person to discover the scene. The broken prosecutor award knife was stuck in the victim's body. I thought he was stabbed by the knight. What? Yeah, this. The prosecutor marshal died from an unfortunate accident. That's only a situation you dreamed was possible. The reality is, it wasn't my sister who took the prosecutor's life. Fantasize all you want, Mr. Wright, but I'll never change this statement. You mean the prosecutor marshal wound up being killed by Doc? Something like that. If that is so, what happened to the other murder weapon? Doc was carrying a switchblade knife. That was lying on the floor a little distance away. Probably knocked away in the struggle. That's not how it went down. She's trying to cover up her lies with more lies. All just to protect me. So when you found the crime scene like this, what did you do? After all, this is what everything boils down to. Yes. You planted the tip of Dark's knife in the victim's body? How did it get broken off? Why would you do that? You of all people should know, Edgeworth. You always had a good head on your shoulders. My head isn't that bad, but I asked for the sake of others. Why did... I can ask either one of these? Why did... I want to know why the body was... Why did you decide to move the body? When you showed up on the scene, where exactly was the victim's body? Is where you deduced it, by Chief Gant's desk. But the body was found by your desk. Why did you move it there? The reason for that is simple. Let's have the witness explain this. The reason why it was moved. The pieces of the jar that shattered during the events threatened my plan. Pieces of the jar, you mean? Yes, that wretched jar you showed us earlier. In order to show that Dark committed the crime, I felt it would be more expedient to move the body. So, when you first found the body, the jar was already... Of course, it had been shattered to pieces. If you look at the crime scene, it'd be clear right away what happened. Neil Marshall was dead, and Dark were lying unconscious. In other words, the jar must have been broken during the struggle. Then when did he write the name on there? What's the matter, Emma? Apparently the jar shattered at the time the crime was committed. But I have a feeling there's more to it than that. The jar couldn't have had a name on it if it was broken already.
Objection!
Bam. Miss Sky, I understand how you feel. You committed that crime 2 years ago to protect your sister. You mean that forgery at the scene where Neil Marshall was murdered? If that truth were to be exposed now, the past 2 years of your life will have been in vain. Even so, I'm compelled to bring to everyone's attention my finger. A contradiction in my testimony. You testified, and I quote, "The pieces of the jar that shattered during the events threatened my plan." That's right. Do you have a problem with that? It's simple. It's a simple oversight, really. You see, a message was written on this jar with the victim's blood. Yes, the prosecutor must have written it in his final moments. Exactly so. And this is where the contradiction is. In order for the victim to be able to write this message on the jar, it must not yet have been broken before he died. He couldn't have written Emma's name on a shattered jar. Order! Your Honor, it would appear more information is needed in regard to this jar and its bloody message. We may be missing something critical here. Chief Prosecutor, it seems you're in the dark as we are, about the truth towards which we are headed. What? Just tell exactly what you saw. We'll piece together the information to arrive at the truth. I don't think there's going to be another... No, we're just going to go straight into the next testimony. Jar and message in blood. I immediately noticed the blood traces on the jar, but it was dark in the room, and I didn't have time to check it out. To be safe, I wiped away the blood. The fragments were large, so I'm sure I got them all. All I could think about was wiping them clean before they were discovered. You mean you were the one who wiped away the messages in blood? I'm old. I wasn't chief prosecutor at the time. She didn't think Dark was the real murderer. That's why she tried to erase the real evidence. The defense may now begin its cross-examination. Old. So the jar was already broken. It's a miracle that thing hadn't broken earlier. It certainly looks as feeble as the defense's case. Ow. Not as feeble as the judge's judgment. Oh, if only we said it out loud. You were an ace detective who never missed a detail. Do you really expect us to believe you didn't investigate what was written on the jar pieces? Normally I would have, but it was dark in the room. So you didn't know your sister's name was written on the jar? No. If I had known, I would have gathered all the pieces and ground them to dust. Well, that doesn't help my case. Lana, you do that for me? Seems you two might make up yet. Anyway, I just barely had enough time to move the body as it was. If someone happened upon the scene, you'd lose your chance to erase the evidence. You must have been in a hurry. I was. I knew I had to destroy the evidence before anyone came. This is rather shocking. I'm old. Wiped away the blood. Why? I'm afraid this action of yours reveals what really happened. What do you mean? If you really thought Drake killed Prosecutor Marshall, you wouldn't have wiped away the blood. What else could I have done in that situation? Oh no. I only had a few moments. It wasn't enough time for me to do anything else but gather up the pieces. But how could you see with the power out? It should have been pitch black in the office. A detective is always prepared, Mr. Wright. Even now, I always carry a pocket light with a camera with me. Even I carry a bottle of emergency luminol wherever I go. I never miss anything. I got every last piece. No, you didn't. You missed a piece. So you illegally arranged the crime scene? Yes, I don't have any excuse for my actions. So sorry, Lana, I didn't know. I treated you so badly all this time. It's not too late. There's still plenty of time to make up. I mean, she's not going to go anywhere. We're going to get her innocent anyway. After all, we haven't gotten to the bottom of this incident. No doubt this day will leave a permanent strain on the history of the prosecutor's office. More contradictions have surfaced in her testimony. Your sister's really putting up a fight. She must really care about you. Still, she's not doing this the right way. I think I've finally figured out the contradictions in her testimony. There's one final possibility it might turn everything around. Okay. But one of the pieces was in the final fragment found in Chief Gant's safe. It's like she didn't get them all. Miss Sky, I believe this jar conceals a truth even you were unaware of. What? We found the final piece of the jar in Chief Gant's safe. In the Chief's safe? But how? Knew it. She really didn't know. There's something even more disturbing about this final piece. There was still blood on it. But the witness just testified that she gathered every last piece and wiped all blood off of them. Yes, which leaves us with only one explanation. On the night Prosecutor Marshall was murdered, you were not the first one to show up on the scene. Chief Gant got there before you. Couldn't the defendant have simply missed a piece? I'm afraid that's unlikely. The pieces are too big for anyone to miss, let alone an ace detective. That may well be, but everyone makes mistakes. Even I once wasted an entire day looking for my dentures. They were in my mouth all along. Can you believe that? Have you forgotten, Your Honor? When this witness arrived at the scene, the jaw was already broken. Oh, that. There's no way a name could have been written on a shattered jaw. Another person discovered the scene prior to the witness. I hope you're not implying that person is Chief Gant. At the time, he was looking for Dart downstairs. Besides, he was there first. Why would he break the jar? Old! Question is, if he did arrive there first, why did he hide that fact for 2 years? Well, Your Honor, can you answer us that? Oh! I'm old! Wait, I'm not the one on trial. Damon Gant arrived at the crime scene prior to the witness. Good job, Joy. He proceeded to break the jaw and purposely hid one of the broken pieces. Question, what is this action called? Fabrication of evidence. But why would Chief Gant do that? In light of what happened afterwards, isn't it clear? What happened afterward? Discovering the scene, Lana Skye believed her sister, Emma, killed the victim. Determined to help her sister, she sought Gant's aid. Lending her his aid, Gant helped create evidence that incriminated Dark, sparing Emma. And therein lies the reason. The reason why Miss Skye became the Chief's puppet. Oh gosh! Oh gosh! She's doing a summoning jutsu! She bit off that... Oh wow! Ow! Ah! That's a lot of pressure! I did it on my own. Please, sis, stop trying to protect the Chief. I can't watch you suffer anymore for my sake. No, you didn't. It wasn't you, Emma. You didn't kill anyone. Don't believe anything Mr. Wright says. Defense attorneys make up the most foul heist to defend their clients. What? That's coming from our own client. I guess you do seem the type who likes to twist the truth. Whippersnapper. Wait a minute. What if we're still smack dab in the middle of Gant's trap? Is something wrong, Mr. Wright? Lana may be right after all. What do you mean? So you do tell foul lies then, Mr. Wright? Miss Skye, please testify once more. But if evidence was fabricated behind your back, then Emma's accidental killing of Prosecutor Marshall might also be a lie. But I do remember knocking over Mr. Marshall. Miss Skye, if you will. I can't. There's nothing to be afraid of anymore. This cross-examination may not change a thing. However, there is a possibility that it will, if you tell the truth. Very well. I'll testify about what I really saw. All right, the witness may testify once more, for the final time. 'Cause I'm old. When I arrived, I found Mr. Marshall's body impaled on that suit of armor's sword. Emma and Dark were lying unconscious on the floor nearby. Dark was unconscious? When I saw what happened, I thought she did it. That's why I erased all the evidence that linked her to the murder. I had Chief Gant help me remove the body from the sword and carry it. If it all really was a fabrication, Emma might be innocent. Unbelievable. The body was impaled on the armor's sword? You were the only one who saw that. If only you had proof. Actually, I do have proof. I gave it to Mr. Wright just this morning. To me? It's a picture I took of the crime scene as I encountered it. I thought it might be needed. I don't remember receiving a picture like that. Lana must have known. See, Mr. Wright? She really does have faith in you. Mr. Wright, please present this picture. The book? I seem to be getting something from her then. Let's check the evidence again. Must be a picture in there somewhere. Oh, hi. Hey, there's a picture in here. Well, first we couldn't do that little investigative part before. Oh my. This is the actual crime scene. No other detective saw the crime scene like this, because I contacted Criminal Affairs only after I had rearranged everything. It's got the torn piece of leather from the jacket. That was never, like, where did his jacket go kind of thing? Mr. Wright! That piece is cut from his vest. Could that be the cloth we found inside Chief Gant's desk? Oh. What's this? Ugh. This is a handprint, isn't it? Yep. That cloth, it had fingerprints on it. Whatever fingerprints those must be the real murderer. No, those fingerprints are yours. Why are your lips turning all purple, Mr. Wright? Anyway, let's get on with the cross-examination. So long as you tell the truth, we should be able to flush out the real murderer. Very well, the defense may now begin its cross-examination. Old. Okay. Come now, Udgy. This is the poorest excuse for a trial I've ever seen. Why is he here? Chief Gant. What, now you want me to make out as the bad guy too? If so, I'd be putting a word or two in my defense.
Objection!
I'm afraid it's too late for that. What? You already declined to testify. That means you forfeited your right to make statements of any sort. This must be that risk we were talking about earlier. Just sit back, relax, and enjoy the sound of the noose tightening around your own neck. Super Saiyan! Ah, so what, you think I'm worried? Sorry to disappoint you, but I don't need to make any statements. What do you mean? The evidence will do all the talking for me. Even if I can't testify, I can still present evidence. That's true. Wait, you mean you still have some conclusive evidence? I like how Edward just got that pointed. No, I don't, but someone does. Someone? So, what's your excuse, Righto? Why have you been keeping quiet about it? You do have something to show us, right? Something that proves who knocked over New Marshall, causing his death? Conclusive evidence that leaves no room for doubt. Is this true, Mr. Wright? If I show that piece of evidence now, Emma's sure to be made out as the murderer. Mr. Wright, if you have any more evidence, present it now. And if you try to conceal anything, you will be one appearing before the Board of Inquiries. This is where I think I'm going to do a safety save. Because this boils down to these two rules. It has to have the approval of the police department, and it has to be relevant to the case on trial. And I don't remember if we've met both those things yet. I mean, you could think that Gant is giving the approval right now. And it's not registered. Is it relevant to the case on trial? It is not. The case on trial is for Goodman. Even though we're talking about another case, the case that's on trial is not the death of Marshall. It's the death of Goodman. But we know who the fingerprints are. They are Emma's. What do I do now? I gotta think this through carefully. I can't afford to make the wrong decision. Should I present that piece of evidence? I'm gonna say no. It's not the current case. I hope that was the right choice. I don't have any evidence I can present at this point in time. What? You lie! Chief Gant? You opened my safe. I know you took what was inside. The conclusive evidence. I don't know what you're talking about. Mr. Wright, why don't you show them? We found it together. Oh, I see. It's because you know the truth, don't you? You know whose fingerprints are on it. That's why you won't present it. What are you talking about, Chief Gant? Can't you figure it out? Take a good look at this picture. See the victim's vest? Notice anything odd about the chest area? It looks like part of it's been cut out for some reason. You mean you had this in your safe? What? That means the chief of have you been concealing evidence? This is gonna be the biggest scandal in the history of the police department. Impressive. To be honest, I didn't think you had the gall, Righto. Well, I can't just let you pin me as the murderer. I'll tell you what really happened. What? You mean you admit to it? You can't testify, though. You give up the right. I was the first person to arrive at the crime scene that day. It then occurred to me that I could use the situation to control Lana. Wait, he can't, so why is he talking? I knew Lana. I made it look like the blame lay with her sister. That when she saw the scene, she would ask me for my aid. So you assisted Miss Skye? I told her to arrange all the evidence. I had her plant the knife tip in the victim's body and move the body across the room. And I ended up using that evidence to get Joe Dock convicted. When I tampered with the crime scene, I hid 2 pieces of evidence. That was before Lana arrived at the scene, mind you. 2 pieces of evidence? You mean those items in your safe? Yeah, it doesn't say he's testifying, he's just talking. But why? For insurance, of course. Insurance. I was sure my plan would work, but it's always best to be prepared for the worst. I wasn't about to let anyone blame me for a murder that girl committed. You mean you were calculating that far ahead while forging the evidence? What do you take me for, a fool? I didn't make police chief by dumb luck. See this jar fragment? I hit the most legible part of Emma's name. I didn't expect Lana to go and wipe the blood off all the pieces.
Objection!
But if you fabricated all the evidence, what's to say you didn't fabricate the message on this jar, too? Some people just don't know when to quit, do they? That's why I kept one more item for insurance. You mean that piece of cloth? Come on, Wright. Oh, cough it up already. I know you have it. What are you waiting for, Mr. Wright? So you admit to it then, Chief Camp, that you were hiding the cloth you cut off from the victim's vest in your safe. Yeah, I admit it. I don't want to have to do that, but being chief and all. But it's a lot better than being portrayed as a murderer. Well, Mr. Wright, what do you have to say for yourself? Just a moment ago, you said you didn't have any evidence you could present. Foolish move, right? You should have shown it then before it was too late. We couldn't show it before, is my guess. It's been a long battle. But the moment of truth has finally arrived. As long as I don't mess up here, the victory is mine. Wait, can I show it now? I think... Hold on. I think I can now. Let's try now. Your Honor, I do have evidence to present now. Right then, let's see this conclusive evidence. The evidence that shows who actually murdered Prosecutor, whatever his face is.
Take that!
Let me verify this once more. On the day of the crime, you personally cut out this piece of victim's vest? Oh, yes! At least you finally brought it out into the open. There's a handprint on this piece of cloth. Your Honor, the prosecution requests that it be immediately sent to the lab for analysis. It's handprint on the leather. There must be a strong impact for it to be left so clearly. See you, Joy. You mean it could not have been forged? It must be authentic, conclusive evidence. You're as slow on the uptake as ever, Worthy. What? Think about it. Righto had all this time to present this evidence. Yet he was reluctant to do so. Why would that be? You mean you already know? You know whose fingerprints are on that? Mr. Wright, do you really know? Whoever the fingerprints belong to must be the real murderer. Whose fingerprints are they? Very well. I'll tell you. We already used the fingerprints on that piece of evidence to let us verify whose fingerprints they are. So we're good. Should be okay now. Everything's proceeding as predicted. The person to whom these fingerprints belong to is... Emma.
Take that!
Emma? Emma Skye? What? They're mine? Sorry, Emma. But why? Why didn't you tell me?